Hello, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. All right. Hmm. This game was way more inaccurate than I thought. Look at this, lot of uh, lot of inaccuracies, mistakes, a few mistakes, some misses. Huh. Don't normally like. Yeah, I mean, look. This whole section here is fraught with uh, non-green moves. Let me see though. I really enjoyed how it went. I mean, because I won, but let's take a look at this game here. F6 has to be the novelty. My idea is to maybe it is, but for me it's a novelty. I haven't played it before. Pawn to e5 with the pawn supporting e5 creates this monstrous center for black against a hyper modern or a wing attack like white is showing early here. Then you build out strong. Usually, I mean, you try to mimic and do another hyper modern on your end, but I would build a very strong center. So if they snipe at you from here, the idea generally, not necessarily for all chess positions like this, is they snipe at you from the G file to the knight on C6 or over here on the B file. So if they snipe at you from here to here, you swing over to here. You know, no piece can move like that. But the idea is the old dodge, sort of tilt and dodge kind of thing. And so after black's fifth move, black has this very strong center. You know, this is big. This is big. And, the progress bar recognizes that by way of 6/10 of a pawn. Knight to c3. Is to get him out there, but I think d4 is yikes. That could be very harmful for white, for black to play against white. I might probably have best played that move. You are now able to kick a knight. So here it is, right here. Yeah. Oh, awesome. All right. So that was the thing to do. Instead, I supported my existing center, which isn't all that bad, in particular because it's consistent with the plan of creating a battery on the c8 to h3 diagonal, and then sometimes we move the bishop to h3 and force a swap of bishops of this magnificent white light squared bishop on g2, and even push the king out from g1, force the king out for g1 in order to collect the equal material. There's all kinds of things about that. Sometimes you leave the bishop here, as long as the queen, or then later on somebody is protecting that bishop on h3, and you can initiate a trade. Sometimes your opponent will initiate a trade, and you get this nice spot for the queen right here on h3. You can even cut off a kingside castle. White won't be able to kingside castle while she's there. So that's one of the things to aim for against most hypermodern attacks and defense and hypermodern defenses. We're talking King's Indian defense, King's Indian attack, Queen's Indian defense and Queen's Indian attack. The Reti opening. These are openings where you can employ anywhere where there's a fiend shadow, especially to the king side. You can try to wedge your same colored bishop right next to that guy and say, I'm watching you. I'm watching you. You be careful. All right, folks, here we go. Knight to h4. Let's hit with a question mark because I think it's a grand idea to be present with this strong bishop on the diagonal. But you know what else? Black hasn't castled. And even more than that, Black has some pawns. Okay? You talk about those pawns and you'll see that there is a pawn attacking the knight on h4. We'll move back to the only square possible. And we push through. Even this against recommendation. I want to see, though, is Torch maybe recommending d4 over and over and over again, which could contribute to why the game was adjudicated to be kind of inaccurate. Plus, it's a wild, crazy game, and we played an inaccurate, wild, and crazy game. These things do happen. But, so we had the one a while back where the coach said to play d4. Let's go back. Let's give the coach a try again. See what she says. So here, my coach encouraged Black to play pawn to d4. Kicking it here. She says kick a knight. And no, I'm looking at that now. That's exactly what to do there. I didn't do it, but fair enough. Moving this, so that's criticism against my opponent. This was an excellent move. You missed a better way to kick a knight right here. Right? She's going to show this knight kick. I'm quite certain. Yeah, for some reason, she wants me to kick on the dark squares here. Probably there's more support from black pieces. Yeah, I mean, the dark black has these dark squares covered, man. Not only is there more support for the black pieces, there's also a very easy kick to follow up. Pawn to a6 with almost no rhyme or reason not to play that move. It's a strengthening move that just is awesome right away. I mean, if your opponent plays d3, you always look out for exceptions, right? Like then queen to a5 check, and this knight is a goner for having to pedal back or be captured on the spot. You look for those exceptions, but that's not where white's pawn is. So a6, a6 would be a good move here for black. Uncreated graffiti. Is that where the term graffiti comes from? No. Oh, but that's from like coach. I better not. I'm not gonna try to overheard indication. Okay. Yeah, those are my coach. That's my coach's graffiti. So that's I'll have to think about that. Knight to g1. Knight to g1. Yeah, this is the point of the strength of e4. My coach wanted d4, but the strength of e4 was that there's nowhere else to go for white than d1 for want of otherwise losing piece lost. It's got covered. Piece lost. Here we've got that covered. Black has that covered. Here on h4, there's a piece lost there. Blocked by his own piece, blocked by his own piece, blocked by his own piece. So knight back to g1. That can't be good. That's like a pawn and a half right there. Blocking the white's kingside castle. There's nowhere to go. If there is going to be some place to go, it's going to take one and then two moves just to get the knight back into play. And the king still has to take a move to castle. So, yeah. Forcing a knight back to, the rook's out of the game. Forcing a knight back to a square like G1 in a board like this, where there are pieces early, but pieces are being developed. Pieces have been developed. There are attack lines and all this. You force a knight to G1 like this. That's a major weakness for white in the long term. In the long term, or long term speaking, which just about two ways to say the same thing. So yeah, no, and this is as part of the game. This was part of why this was an enjoyable game for me. But this game was enjoyable for me. So some of these moves, the tactics make them difficult to play accurately in a even in a 10-minute per side per game situation. So I'm gonna let this charge through to where it became accurate again, and that'll be and we'll go from there. So Kingside Castle here is a good accurate move with a clear threat. Oh no, not quite. Pawns there. Get adjusting to a new board there, but it's a good move. There's nothing wrong with Kingside Castles here. Rook E1. Allows the great response. The knight is on the rim. A knight on the rim is. Let me hear famous fairy tellers. Fairy tellers? Famous fairy tale tellers. Tellers too. Grim. A knight on the rim is Grim. So it's so he has only 1, 2, 3, 4 moves available. Put that knight somewhere like this board's crowded, but just pretend no one's attacking me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 moves available. So a knight on the rim is Grim. Put him in the corner. And he's just got these two. Nobody puts baby in the corner. I'm only trying to warn you. As a quote from Eminem, I believe, Marshall Mathers LP2. Could be Revival. I think it's LP Marshall Mathers LP2. Alright, we got Queen to D2. Some more inaccurate moves. This one I said, don't notice it. But then when she took it, I said, oh wait, I really do have the check on F3 to pick up the queen. And I said, oh wait, no, I very much really don't have the check at F3 to pick up the queen. So I played, maybe this will be a little bit sneaky. Block the check instead of moving out of the way. And then even with the attack directly against my queen, how bold is that? I can still get the tactic off, but this was a little bit of twist of fate. There's some seriously complicated tactics going on this board right here. There's some seriously complicated tactics. Knight to F3. So first thing to notice is the check, and it's from a knight. So the king either must move, or the piece must be captured, or else it's the end of the game. It's checkmate. You cannot block a knight check. Like going here doesn't do it. If this rook could sort of like scrounge right here into this four corner area, like in Colorado and New Mexico, Arizona and Nevada, but he's he can't quite get to the four corner spot. So you cannot block a knight check. You can capture the checking piece once it's been played, delivering the check. You can capture that piece, like here with pawn takes F3, or you can move your king. If you're in check, you can move your king away from it. All right, we got that right. Good. So my opponent captured on F3. That's the right move. But this was all part of after knight F3 check and then the recapture. The movement of the knight creates an attack line against white's G5 queen. He does against white's queen, said better. So we go up the queen, but because of all the bleeding that black did going into that, we're ahead on in a material sense, but only by two pawns. So we just picked up a queen, but look at some of the pieces that were lost getting there. We'll start with this bishop was lost to this in the check. This knight became lost to the e takes kind of thing. I think that might be it, but that's why it's 3 points or closer to 3 points than 9 points, as a queen is normally worth. We remember queens are 9, rooks are 5, bishops are 3, knights are 3, and pawns are 1. The king is about 4 in terms of end game attacking strength. It's more of a liability for the first set of moves. Through the middle game, he's a liability. He's about 4 in terms of an end game attacking strength, as long as there aren't a lot of pieces in the end game. And a 4, or some people consider to any one game of chess. How about this one, that the king's importance is infinite? No, let's not do that. It overflows. You can philosophize on that one if you want. If the king's lost, so it's the entirety of the game, right? But that's at 4 as an attacking piece, and 999. Otherwise, he cannot be lost. There are no chess. How about this one? There are no legal chess positions that have anything other than exactly one white king and exactly one black king. So if you're maybe you're studying, you're coding, and you want to create eventually a chess playing machine, or you're going to make a system that a little bit before that, you're a little bit early on in your studies, you want to say, I want to create a program that detects whether or not the position on the board is legal. Just write it, heads up, right at the start, code in however you would want to code it in, that there must be exactly one black king and exactly one white king, and they can't be next to each other. So if you're making a code for a legal position checker, that's the thing to do. Let's move on. Not at the plate, but at the chess board. Bit of strategy blending with tactics here. I decided to push d3. I thought that this promotion threat was way too strong to start, and yeah, it can be met. And I thought that it just was going to be long-lasting enough that it's probably worth it to push rather than sit back on d4 and be rest on our laurels that the c5 pawn can protect d4. I thought it was better to be a little more active in attempting promotion of this pawn. I'm outnumbered in terms of minor plus major pieces, so while he's still there, let's get him going. I like my opponent's move there. Scare the queen away at the cost of a pawn, and another good move. Scare the queen away at the cost of the pawn of a pawn. So. And here's the point. I thought my opponent would address the problem of d2 earlier. That d2 is a protected fork of rook and bishop, and how to do that I wasn't certain. I thought maybe rook to d1 could be strong and just close down the opportunity for a promotion long term. Not necessarily guaranteed the full game, but for a good amount of time, it's going to take black to usher forces against that duo covering the d2 square. And the rook, the exchange sacrifice here was definitely warranted. it's actually just a pick. It's a good spot, really. It captures and then the piece is lost on the first rank. Right, and white is simply overpowered, overpowered, and overpowered. With 32 seconds on the clock, uh, I tried to make moves that were definitely forward thinking and moving in the right direction. But here we'll see that it's going to take me about 20 moves with a queen and a knight against a bunch of pawns. So I was not doing that to be a jerk about things or anything. I just thought this was the most clear and straight away way for black to um, win any kind of win. I was playing. You're in time trouble, and you're yeah, any kind of win. That's the way that I recommend playing if you're in time trouble. Not always, but a lot of the time. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Have a great night.